Okay. It feels very wonderful to be here. I came all the way from the United Kingdom, having found out about you guys from the internet. I tend to think I have an open mind, and I've got friends who are Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and people don't believe anything. I go to church though, and we are taught that you got to be born again and all that before you go to heaven. So what's going to happen to all these my wonderful friends?
They're going to be born again when they go to heaven.
Oh, really?
In other words, the only thing that keeps you from being that source energy being that you are the things that you focus upon that cause you to feel negative emotion. In other words, when you look at someone and you say, because of the things you do, you are not worthy, in that moment, you are not allowing yourself alignment with source. It's such an interesting thing. Religious people of all sects will say to the others who are of a different way of thinking, because you don't think like I do, you cannot go to heaven. And the anger that they often feel as they are pointing out the inappropriateness of the other is their signal that they're having a thought that the source energy part of them is not having. So it's such an interesting thing that the religious condemnation, and it happens on all sides of all fronts, the religious confrontation, the religious fervor about me being right and you being wrong is what's keeping me from being in alignment with my God right now. Isn't that interesting?
It is.
The surer they are that they are right and that they have the only thing that is right, the more they are in that moment holding themselves apart from that which they seek to express.
One more.
That's why when we hear someone say, I have so many friends and they come from so many places and they have so many ways of looking at life, and I love this one and this one and this one and this one, we say, now you have the true religion.
Great. Thank you.
Something more?
Yes. Now, the Christians, of which I say I'm one, say they're not religious, but they have a relationship. So what do the Muslims and the Hindus and the free thinkers have? Do they have a relationship with anybody, or they're just separated from the rest of us?
Well, we cannot answer a question that is based with such a flawed premise. In other words, everyone, whether they have a religious label or not, is source energy in a physical body. And they have that non-physical counterpart that is calling them forward. And you do not need a label. You do not need someone else acting in behalf of you to have that connection. You all have that connection. And you are born with guidance to let you know that. You can feel love in your heart, which is connection, and you can feel hate in your heart, which isn't. And what is astonishing to us is that no one asks, what is this feeling of hate that I have within me? What does it mean? What does it mean? Why doesn't someone say, what does this feeling of hate mean? Because we would give them the answer. It means you, in your hatred, have disconnected yourself from that which you call God. And if someone says, what does this love that I feel in my heart mean? We would say it means that what you are choosing to think about in this moment is so in alignment with the way Source sees it that there is no vibrational separation between you and you. That's what it means. But you see, physical beings, for the most part, have become very conditional livers of life. They say, when I see that condition, I feel good, and when I see that condition, I feel bad. So we need to do something about the condition. And they don't realize that there's a war against drugs and a war against poverty and a war against AIDS and a war against terrorism and a war against. And in all of that pushing against, there is a vibrational activation of the very thing that they do not want, which separates them from what they do want, you see. This is a universe that's based on attraction, which means it's an inclusion-based universe. If I see something I want and I say yes to it, I include it in my vibration, and law of attraction brings me more of it. If I see something I don't want and I shout no at it, the shouting of no is actually an attraction of what I do not want, because there's no such thing as no in an attraction-based, inclusion-based universe. Attention to it activates the vibration of it, you see. So then people say, well, then how do I look into a war-torn world, or into a world where there are so many religious differences, so many differences? How can there be peace in an environment such as that? And what good could come from so much contradiction and so much conflagration and so much violence? And we say, in all of that contrast, in every person that's touched by it, whether you are on the other side of the planet or worried about the bomb dropping on your house today, in that contrasting experience, whenever you know what you don't want, your desire is born whether you put words to it or not. So billions of people around the planet are asking for what they want, which is to live lives of well-being, to have safe places for children, to have enough food for everyone to eat, to live in some semblance of harmony, to be able to carve out a place for myself and my family where I can do what I came forth to do in this physical body. These desires are coming out of billions of people around the planet. And source energy is flowing to every one of them. And so the current or the stream about that is more powerful than it has ever been before. So now, any individual, so you get a sense of this stream. We talk about this vibrational escrow that you are individually launching. Well, there is a mass consciousness vibrational escrow that is happening as a result of what you are all asking for. And the stream is very, very powerful. And so then one like you, or one like Jerry and Esther, who works to bring themselves into alignment and into alignment and into alignment, you receive the benefit of this very fast moving stream. That's why in your world today, those who are thriving at extraordinary proportion. And those who aren't are having the opposite experience in enormous exaggerated proportion. The well are weller, and the sick are so much sicker, and the prosperous are so much more prosperous, and the poverty is so much more poverty. Because this stream, because of the contrast that you're all living, you as humans upon this planet have got source energy moving at a faster pace than has ever been before. This is leading edge, fast moving in energy. And when you flow with it, oh boy, do you have a ride. And when you don't, oh boy, don't you. So what's happening is, never before has it been more important for you to get up to speed with the energy flow. Not the energy flow of the world, but at least with the energy flow that you have launched. So you sit in the privacy of your home and you watch CNN, you involve yourself in the Middle East conflict. In other words, you start literally launching rockets of desire that are personal to you because you have made them personal by your association with it. Now you've got to be up to speed. You cannot watch the diplomats in their absence of diplomacy. You cannot watch the diplomats in their going through the motions. You cannot watch that without it tearing yourself apart.
Yes.
You see.
Okay.
You have to find ways to let yourself go with the flow that your life and your attention to life has created for you. And as you begin to do that, you will discover that under any and all conditions, you can thrive. So what does a person do? What does somebody do who cares about people of all religions? What does a person do who is not able to take sides on one side or the other and just blatantly push against the other side? How do you bear something like this, where you are watching so many people that are having so much suffering? And you not have any control. You can't go get the ear of your president or any president. You can't go sign a document that makes it all stop or go away. In other words, you don't have control over the behavior and actions of what the others do. And you can't get them to agree with you, even if you try. So what do you do? How do you live? How do you survive it? How do you stand it? And even more, how could you experience it in joy? Well, what you do is you observe it in whatever way you do. And as you observe it, from your perspective, you contribute your rockets of desires. And that larger part of you becomes what you want relative to this. And then you reach for thoughts that feel better and better and better and better and better to you. You try to find a way of becoming aligned with the thoughts that you have launched. And when you do, your power of influence is more than that of millions. A handful of you lying in your beds and caring about something, but most of all, caring about coming into alignment with you. can do more about opening a vortex for resolution than the diplomats that are there with their pins pointed at the documents. You have so much more power of influence that you know. But it requires understanding that this is not an action-based world, it's a vibrational-based world. Until you accept that it's vibrational-based, you won't accept the power that you have. As long as you think that it's an action-based world, in a world in which your action is not honored, in other words, show up over there in one of your nation's capitals and try to get a meeting with the leaders and tell them what you know and find out how ineffective your action under those conditions could be. Even if you could get them to give you a meeting, we promise you they would not be able to listen to you long enough to get your understanding of what's going on. Leave that part out. It never worked anyway. Lie in the boardroom of your bed and take the time to come into alignment with your dream about what's happening, and come into alignment and feel the resonance of your alignment, because finally you're sleeping instead of fretting. Finally you're smiling instead of crying. Finally you're in alignment with the dream that your awareness of what has happened has caused you to dream. And when you come into alignment, you have contributed mightily.
One more, please.
And as long as you don't care who gets the credit, you can be of huge value.
One more.
Because the diplomats will take the credit.
I see. Okay. I've been blessed, and anywhere I work, I kind of have a level of success. In my family in the past, we've experienced some problems that when people succeed and get their friends to know about it, the success kind of turn upside down and they experience a level of disappointment, or worse still, death or loss and all that stuff.
Well, what happens is, if Jerry wrote a paper many years ago, long before he was interacting with us. And the subject of the paper was, keep your ideas to yourself until they are fully developed. Because he saw so many people, just as you have described, who had a dream, but as soon as they would begin expressing the dream to those who were close to them, the doubts and fears of the people they were expressing them to would infiltrate the vibration of his dreaming friend. And then his dreaming friend would lose his vibrational alignment with his dream. And then things would not turn out well. And what we explain about that is, if you've taken the time to imagine what you want and to flow your thoughts toward it until you have come into alignment with your dream. Now, that's what we meant earlier when we said one who's connected is more powerful than a million who are not. If you want something but you doubt it, and you talk to people who sort of want it but doubt it too, now you've got this desire with this doubt going on, and you're not very powerful. And you're attracting both what you want and what you don't want. And depending upon which part of the vibrational scale you are leaning more toward, it always turns out the way you feel. Nothing can happen to anyone that is different from the way they feel. The way you feel is your indication of your point of attraction. So the key when you are involved in anything, in any business enterprise or in anything, is to talk yourself into alignment, if you can, before you begin the action part of it. And as you do that, then those who are doubters can't even come to you, because vibrationally they're not on your wavelength. And even if they do doubt, and even if you're married to them, or even if they do doubt, and even if they are your mother or your father or your sister or your brother, even if they doubt, law of attraction will not cause them to interact with you in a very powerful way. And under those conditions, then you can begin, as we said earlier, more than 99% of every creation is complete before you see any physical evidence of it. So you can be in alignment and you're talking about things going well, but the people who are around you are saying, well, where's the evidence? And you're saying, well, I don't have any evidence to show you. And then they say, well, see, it isn't working. And it's not easy to say, yes, it is working. You just can't see it yet. It's working. My fortune is being amassed. They laugh at you because they don't understand the laws, you see. So you have to find a way of protecting yourself, preventing yourself from being sucked into their doubt by making sure that you are strong before you let them in on the idea. We would never discuss anything that mattered to us with anyone if we had any doubt about our success about it. In other words, we would not ask for the advice of other doubters. You want to go to people who have succeeded. You want to go to people who know it works because they're the living example of it having worked. In other words, you want to line up with the success of the idea, not the failure of the idea.